Life all depends upon how you see it. No matter what your circumstances, who you are, where you go, how little you have, or how rich you might be, in this life, the greatest treasure we own is our treasure of perspective.
Hi everyone. Recently, some things have happened to me which have made me learn some pretty important lessons, and I thought that I would share them with you in case you're ever in a similar position. After about a year of really bad luck in my life and things just going wrong left, right and centre, I found out that the operation that I mentioned in my previous videos hadn't worked out as we were hoping that it would. The valve which they inserted into my eye hadn't been draining the pressure as it should have done, and therefore my optical nerve was still at risk. This meant that I would have to have another operation. As you can imagine, being told that you need to have more surgery after you've just got over your last one is not the best news in the world. It's pretty scary. Obviously, operations in themselves aren't the nicest of things. When you hear about someone else going through them, it's nothing in comparison to when it's you. You have to deal with all the nerves and all the anxiety and everything else that comes along with having that operation, and it's not a very nice thing to deal with. So, for about 2 days last week, I just basically gave up on everything. I just laid in bed, I didn't eat, I didn't wash, I didn't do anything really. I couldn't accept my life as it was because all I could see of it was operations and troubles with my eyes and things that I couldn't fix, and everything revolving around this problem that would affect everything in my life, and I didn't know what to do with that. I felt like by getting up and just going on with life, it would be like a way of pretending none of this was happening and just acting like everything was fine, and I couldn't do that anymore. I felt like I'd done that for so long and something had to give. That also made me start to doubt who I was as a person. Most people who know me know that I try to be very positive and encouraging and look for the light and see the good in all situations, and I generally can do that very well. I don't like to show my sad sides because it makes me sad to know that others are aware of how much I'm not coping with things. I feel like if others can trust that I know that I'm in control and I can get through anything, then I might believe it myself. But all of a sudden, I didn't know who I was, and I couldn't accept myself for the person that I felt like I had become. For a long time, I'd been waiting for something good to happen in my life. Fate had given me all of this crap that I couldn't deal with, and I just needed something to come along and be my saving grace, my silver lining. I kept holding out this hope that things would get better, and they just seemed to get worse and worse. Slowly, over time, this just wore me down and took away all of my strength and all of my energy. I just felt exhausted and lost, and I couldn't keep up the persona that everything was alright anymore. As I think most people do in these situations, I started thinking, why me? Why is this happening to me? Why couldn't it be someone else? What if I had been different? What if I hadn't been born this way? What if this had happened? What if that had happened? Maybe I should have done that. We ask ourselves these unanswerable questions that don't get us anywhere, and what I finally realised is that it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything at all. You can't get anywhere from it. You're not going to find any answers. You're not going to be able to change your situation just by thinking those things, and actually all you're doing is making yourself feel worse. That is the only thing that comes out of saying, what if this and what if that? Thinking of things that you can't do anything about. You're not going to help yourself. So don't do that. As hard as it is and as automatic as it is, recognise when you're just getting yourself into a spiral of self-doubt that isn't in any way productive. Once you can do that, you'll see that actually the much more productive thing to do is just to accept your situation and make the best of it. Personally, I've come to believe that that is probably the epitome of the phrase easier said than done. The one tool you really need for it though is strength. You need to be a really strong person to be able to accept something that you really don't want to accept. I think when you get yourself to a certain point, Even when other people try to give you strength, you push them away. You don't want to hear what they're telling you, but let them in. If someone's trying to help you, let them help you. Let them give you that strength that you need, because the ironic thing is, acceptance and strength both rely very, very heavily on each other. If you have one, you'll have the other, but you need to get them both in the first place. I think one problem with the idea of acceptance is that there's a big misconception around it. People tend to think that if they accept something, that's like saying that they're okay with it. That's not what acceptance is at all. It's not saying that you're fine with the situation that you're in, or that you wouldn't change it if you could, but it's saying, I'm not going to let this one situation, this one fact, this one circumstance, I'm not going to let it rule my life. I won't be consumed by something that I can't change that will ruin everything else that I have in my life, because believe it or not, you've got a lot more than you think you have. The best thing you can do when you feel like you don't know how to accept your life anymore is to think of all the things that you have in your life that aren't the thing that you're struggling with. Accept with perspective. That way, you're not saying that you're okay with it or that it doesn't matter to you anymore. But instead, you're saying, this is one thing in my life, one part of my life that I want to make peace with, that I want to be okay with. I am definitely not going to make out that acceptance is easy, because it is one of the hardest things that you'll ever have to tackle. Don't be too hard on yourself if you're finding it difficult to accept something. Take all the time that you need. Let yourself be sad. Let yourself not do anything for a couple of days if that's what it takes. There may be some things in your life that you'll never truly be able to accept. I'm not sure I'll ever truly be able to accept the way that I was born. And yet I still know in my heart that I'm going to make the best of the person that I am. Acceptance is a daily battle, and that's something that I know more than anyone. You might one day wake up and think that you finally accepted something and that you're okay with it, and then the next morning, guess what? You're back to square one. There are some things in life that are completely out of our control, that we can't do anything about. But most of them, we can do something to help along. And if there's anything you can do to change your situation or make the best of the situation that you're in, do that. The more that you can accept yourself, the prouder of yourself you'll be and the better life that you'll have because of it. At the end of the day, and the most important thing that I have learnt through all of this, is to always strive to accept with perspective, and you won't go far wrong.
Treasure of Perspective.